Hey, my Love Island USA fans. Yes, I have an update video. You know I like to keep you guys updated on this channel, and this is no exception. And I know everybody has been kind of waiting to see what KayKay or Keenan or both of them had to say after coming out of the villa. They have done some actual Love Island interviews, but of course they're making their rounds in the circuit. And of course we were able to get a little bit of a candid interview with KayKay, not myself personally, but we're going to react to one of the videos that she, or I should say interviews that she did. So we're going to talk about it. Welcome back to Romance Review TV. It's Lady T. Got an update video for you guys regarding Love Island USA Season 5 KayKay. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this. So, a couple of days ago, KayKay did an interview with shout out to Reality and Comics 2 with Kendrick Tucker. Go over there and check him out. He usually do interviews with Islanders, usually every other week or so, but go over there and check him out. Sending a shout out over there. But we're going to react to a couple of things that she had to say in this interview regarding her connection with Keenan, what happened at Casa Amor, and more. And we're going to cut in the middle, so stay tuned for that, and we'll be back.
What was it about Keenan that made him like your guy from day one?
So when he had came out the tunnel, I had a feeling like something came over me, like my heart just skipped a beat. And I like to think I'm pretty in tune with my intuition, so I just felt like that's my intuition telling me like that's your guy, because I didn't even get a really good look at him at first. But then when he got closer, we kind of made eye contact, and that kind of told me like, come here. So and he's definitely my physical type, like tall, dark, handsome,
Okay.
He was doing it for me.
Okay, instant attraction. There you go. He's cheesing in the background right now. He's loving this. Out of curiosity though, I know he was kind of your, check as you were kind of looking at him, but was there anyone else of the original guys, Marco, Leo, Victor, Bergie? Was there anyone else that could have potentially made your head turn in the early days, before you got to know any of them?
No, honestly, no. None of them were really my type at all. So no.
Yeah. Gotcha.
I really wasn't feeling them like that.
There you go. You kind of gave Keenan the space to get to know other people within the villa. Like Cassie, I think was the first one, and then Emily later on down the line. Were you okay with this each time, or kind of deep down were you like, no, I hate this, I don't want to come back, no, let's not do this at all?
Yeah, so for me it was uncomfortable. Cassie not so much uncomfortable, just because we were in very early days. I think what made me uncomfortable about the Cassie situation was just how it happened. Not that it happened. She had never expressed to me that she was attracted to him or that she wanted to get to know him. And they sat down and all of a sudden they're getting to know each other. I'm like, what? But, but when we got a little bit deeper in, I, verbalized to Keenan as well. I still want you to do it because that's what you need to do. But it was uncomfortable for me. And it wasn't uncomfortable in the sense that, I can't take it. I just felt like that was something, because we did have those conversations. We communicated very well about what we were doing. And I did voice that I was okay with it, even though it made me uncomfortable. So it was just one of those things, do it, even though I'm uncomfortable.
There were times where, the public was really kind of they loved you. So there were times we do the public votes, we get on the app and we make our selections and all that kind of stuff. And you were safe, I think, every single time. I don't think you were ever in the bottom, if I'm remembering that correctly. And so I'm wondering, was there ever a time, since I think once or twice Keenan wound up in the bottom, and I know I've talked to Islanders in the past and they've talked about how that kind of messes with their heads sometimes. Yeah. Did you ever see that and wonder wait a minute, why are y'all not keeping him in the top two? What's going on? Or did you just kind of know that you guys would keep him safe and didn't really think much of it?
So I know there was one time he was in the bottom. I think it was the first time he was, and then it was up to the Islanders to save whoever and who we were going to send home. And I think that made me feel a lot more safe, and I didn't think too much about it. And I'm the type of person, nobody can tell me anything to make me feel differently about somebody else. I have to experience that for myself. So that's kind of what it was. It didn't make me be like, well, what is he doing? Because I knew what he was doing.
Yes.
He was telling me everything that he was doing. And I know that didn't sit well with people because I also got that kind of feedback from the Islanders of like, why is Keenan doing this? And I'd have to verbalize to them like, well, because I said he could,
Yeah.
Which might not have made sense while I was crying, but
that's all right. Human reaction. You're allowed.
Yeah.
Let's jump to Casa Amor. I don't know if you've had like time to, I know. I don't know if you've had time to like kind of actually watch any of the episodes that you were on, or if you like jumped into kind of a press tour or whatever. But one of the things we saw was that Keenan was actually planning to close things off with you right before you left. Now, I'm wondering, did y'all have that conversation when you came back? Like, did he tell you like, man, that was bad timing because I was right about to close things off?
He did share that with me after the fact. Yeah, we didn't get a chance to have that conversation before, but when he came back, he did tell me, he was like, I was ready to close things off with you when you left. And he was basically telling me like he just didn't know what I would be doing because we didn't have that conversation, which makes sense.
I'm wondering if do you think that would have kind of changed you two's like trajectory on the show? Like, would you still be on the show had you guys closed thing off ahead of time and, not really have to deal with the Casa Amor of it all? Because I'm sure that like y'all would have been like, what is it, Kenzo and Marco like outside and no one doing anything. So would that have like changed things for you guys?
I 100% think that it would have changed everything. I think that, the narrative would have made him less of the bad guy and more like, okay, he finally opened his eyes type of situation. And I think they would have had so much more grace with him. Yeah. Like the public, it would have been like, okay, now he's turning over a new leaf. Now it's like, but I think Casa Amor just made it worse to where it's like, all right, you're done.
Right. Fans at the time were really kind of rooting for you and Brandon and Casa Amor. At any point, did you think that you might bring him back to the villa, or was he simply just like, I hate to say it this way, but kind of simply the best of a bad situation in Casa Amor? Like, was he just the best of the guys there to kind of get to know, or did you ever actually consider bringing him back?
No, I didn't think that I would bring him back, to be honest. I did like try to have that connection. Like I felt really comfortable with him. We had really great chats. Like he was a really great guy, but I just struggled with the romantic part of the connection with him. So I knew like it wasn't worth me bringing him back.
Okay. Yeah. And you've already described your physical type, and he's kind of polar opposite to that too. So
right, which is why it surprised me. Like I didn't expect to sit down with him and be like, oh, like we just had really good conversations. Yeah. And he actually friend zoned me like in our very first interaction when I first got to Casa, the VIP night. He was like, oh, we're gonna be such great friends. And then like the next day he told me and he was like, I shouldn't have said that. I just got nervous. And he's like, actually, I want you. So I think that kind of like made me like give him a little bit more energy just because he was expressing that interest. And I don't feel like a lot of other guys were.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boy, this is the moment that I know you hate talking about, but walk me through that moment where you all kind of received that text message with the video showing what was going on in the other villa in Casa Amor.
So honestly, like watching the video, the first thing I see is it was Taylor C, and she was like, oh my God, he's beautiful. I guess she was talking about Jonah or whatever. So I was like, oh, okay, this is fine. Like, it's not about me. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, that's my Keenan's type right there. Like, I felt like I was safe. And then I see his ass. And I like grabbed the phone hard. I was like, who is this? And I was just like, yeah. And then like the first thing I seen was him in Soul Ties. And so I was like, Soul Ties is crazy. Like that was my first thought, like of all places you could be. Soul Ties? So that's kind of how it was. That made me like really pissed off. But then I continued to watch and I saw the scene with like them in the bed and stuff like that. And that really kind of just broke my heart because I'm like, all right, like I just felt like betrayed in the sense of, I felt like we had a good conversation about the boundaries and like what we would and wouldn't do when Casa came around. And in my eyes, that kind of went against that. So I just feel like I put a lot of trust into that and it like bit me in the ass. So that's more where my heartbreak came from. I didn't feel like cheated on or like he owed me anything. and that made me feel like he's most definitely bringing somebody back from Casa Amor, which means that it would have been raps for me. Like, he probably couldn't even get a conversation out of me after that, to be honest.
Okay, so we're going to cut in right here and kind of react to some of the things she just said in the first half of this video, where it came to his interactions and his connections. First with Cassie, then with Emily, and then Casa Amor. And it looks like from what, she was saying, even though it made her, she didn't like the fact that he was connecting, she also gave him the permission, per se, to go ahead and explore those options. Now, they did set boundaries when it came to going into Casa Amor, and of course we all know what happened. The whole bedroom scene, she was pissed off. She kind of talked about her connection, whether or not she would have brought somebody in, meaning Brandon, who she was connecting with, and we'll get to hear more about that as well. But the thing is that she didn't even know that they were going to be closed off before, I guess, the timing of it all. And the interesting thing about all of that is that a lot of people wasn't happy about what happened. Now, Leo did a lot more than what Keenan did. I mean, yeah, they were in the bed. She was spilling on him. He communicated all of that to her from what we found out. But Leo and that whole Cassie situation with Johnny, that's a whole nother pot to stir, which was totally different here. However, we're going to see as we get into the second half of the show about what happened at the red wine party, or I forgot the term for that, and how that all unfolded.
That's awesome. And that made me feel like he's definitely bringing somebody back. Because I felt like that line was kind of crossed. Like, if it's going to be crossed, then I hope that's what it's for. You know what I mean? Which I would have supported. Like, okay, if you feel like that connection's better than ours, then I support that. Okay. And we both did agree to that before. Like, if we bring somebody back, it's because the connection is better than what we have.
Okay.
So that's how I felt, and that's why I was kind of like having a breakdown. But it wasn't all of that too. It's just like, when you start crying and then everything that's been bothering you kind of just festers and you just start crying harder.
Yeah.
It was kind of like just my breaking point of like everything. Like, even being in the villa is a very intense environment. So like it definitely took a part in that.
I'm curious, did you guys think that since you had gotten the video, did you thought they received one as well?
Yeah. The girls and we were like, did they get a video too?
Was anybody in particular a little nervous about what could be on the video, or was everybody feeling pretty safe?
I think at that point we were all feeling pretty safe. Like, maybe Cassie may have been just a little bit, but for the most part, nobody was doing anything like off the wall. Like, we did play games and challenges and stuff, but those are games and challenges. Those aren't serious things. So, but I do feel like sometimes it can be taken out of context, especially if it was sent in a video. You don't know if it's a game or a challenge, or if they're just doing it to do it. So, it did cause just a little bit of concern, but I think we all felt like anything that they got sent was probably going to be justifiable.
Okay. I want to talk real quick. What's your relationship like with Hannah? Because even though she got that same video and like could have been freaking out about Marco's ex being in the villa, she was really solely focused on you and like making sure that you were okay in that moment. So I'm assuming y'all have a pretty good friendship.
I feel like at that time she was very supportive of me, but I wouldn't say that she was super confident. Maybe she just felt like I needed more support than she did at that time, which I appreciate. But she definitely was freaking out too.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that made air, but she also was freaking out just a little bit. I mean, who wouldn't, She was like, he's there with his ex and, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But for the most part, she did talk to me, and she did, just remind me who I was, and that, you heard what she said. So
yeah,
basically, can't bitch hold my panties. That's what she told me.
The Casa recoupling.
Yeah.
Why did you ultimately decide to come back and stay single, aka in Love Island terms, not stick, and as opposed to like bringing someone back like maybe out of spite, just because you're like, okay, I'm at my wit's end, I'll just bring somebody back just because of it? But you chose to actually stay single. Why was that?
Yeah, so I did heavily consider bringing somebody back. At that point, it was like it could be anybody. I had a talk with Eddie because we became really, really good friends. And I told him, like, I'm considering bringing you back as a friend. That way you can have opportunity in the villa to find a connection. And I can walk in with some support. And, like, you know, I just felt like maybe that would be a good thing. And I felt like it would piss Keenan off. And, you know, I considered that shit. So ultimately why I didn't do that is because I just felt like it wouldn't have been true to me.
Mm-hmm.
I had to like remember that I am a strong woman. Like I can stand on my own 10 toes and I can walk in by myself, whether he has somebody or not. Like I can be single, like, you know? So that's why I didn't bring anybody back because it just wouldn't have been true to me. It's not Friendship Island. So why am I bringing a friend back? I didn't find a connection, so I should return by myself.
I mean, you stuck to your guns. I can do nothing but respect it. Ultimately, you work through your issues with Keenan, but then we get to the red wedding. Boy, oh boy, one of the most talked about nights of this season and all of USA seasons, honestly. Why did you decide to leave? Like, was it because you kind of lost faith in the process? Was it because you didn't think you'd find like a better relationship? Was it because you think that you and Keenan have like a really bright future ahead?
Honestly, all of those things. We actually talked about a couple of times, several times, that, you know, we both agreed, like, if you leave, I'm gonna leave.
Okay.
Like, we did have those conversations, and, you know, ultimately, if he left, he didn't really want me to leave because he didn't want to, like, end my experience because of him. But to me, it would have not been true to myself to stay. I know where my heart is, and it's with him. So it would have just been fake for me to it would have been fake for me to stay and then try to form new connections. Like I just wouldn't have been in it. I would have been wasting my time and playing with somebody else's emotions. Yeah. And I don't like doing that. So it just made sense for me, and I did see a future with him. Like at that point I already knew that I was in love with him, and it just I felt like we had a future outside the villa. So
okay, so we're going to stop right there. If you want to go ahead and check out the podcast, I'll leave the link down in the description so you can get the other details, because she talked about how she was chosen for the show, and she talked about also the aftermath of dealing with the fans after the show. However, her leaving the villa was her decision. They had already made a pact that, you know, if one leave, the other leave, even though at the red wedding challenge or whatever, when there was an elimination, the thing is that she chose to leave because at the same time she knew in her hearts of hearts that she probably wasn't going to find anybody. She'll never know that at this point, but she says she was already in love with Keenan, and the thing is, it's her decision. And I'm going to continue to post other videos and things about life outside of the villa with these two. You can check that out mainly on my TikTok, Romance Review TV 7. Or no, Romance Review TV, and you'll see more of that. But obviously there was a lot of conversations with these two behind the scenes. They got a little sticky at Casa. You know, it didn't go as far as Leo, but it was enough to stir the pot per se. But, you know, obviously they got past that. They worked through it. And, you know, at this point, they've made the decision to move forward with life outside of the villa. And so far, they've been living it up. And like I said, I'll post a lot of that stuff on my TikTok, so you can go over there and check that out. So what do you think about these two? I mean, honestly, a lot of people wasn't happy about the decision, but at the end of the day, it's their decision. And we don't get to see a lot of what they go through in the villa, all of the conversations, all of what they've worked through. We only get to see like 1/10 of all of the filming that they do, because everything is edited down to fit in a 45 to 50 minute show every night, and it's not even 7 days a week. So let me know your thoughts. Okay, so let's get the conversation started down in the comment section. What did you think about the interview? Some of the things KayKay had to say about what was going on this season behind the scenes with her and Keenan. And again, go over to check out the podcast. I'll leave the link in the description below. And shout out to Reality and Comics 2 with Kendrick Tucker. So I hope you enjoyed this update video. Stay tuned for other updates and recaps on this channel. And until the next one, like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you soon. Bye.